The Mavericks have been struggling. Right now, they're 9-14, and they're 14th in the Western Conference, one place away from being last, but Minnesota is like dead last. So I don't think Dallas will get there. But I think a question that a lot of people are asking are why are the Dallas Mavericks struggling? Dallas Mavericks fans most likely have the answers to those questions. Maybe they don't, and that's why they stumbled upon this segment or video or podcast. But there's a lot of NBA fans that haven't been watching the Mavericks that closely, and they want an answer. In my opinion, it comes down to a couple things. One, it comes down to the Mavericks' lack of passing and rhythm on offense. Their offense is very stagnant. This year, they're 27th in assists per game. Last year, they were 14th. They have the worst three-point shooting percentage in the league. Last year, they had the 10th in the league. And for me, I think the loss of Seth Curry has been more detrimental to them than they would have believed, because they traded Steph for Josh Richardson in hopes that Josh Richardson the offense would be a little bit worse, but the defense would get tremendously better.
Yeah.
And the defense has pretty much stayed the same, and the shooting has gotten tremendously worse. And I think the loss of Steven Silas was huge. He was the guy who was innovating a lot of their offensive designs and motions on offense. So because of that loss of Steven Silas, I think it's been huge. And I think the player that's impacting the most is Kristaps Porzingis. We know that he hasn't been New York Kristaps in Dallas so far. But the reason for that is because I don't think they've been using him properly. Everybody feels like the answer to Kristaps being good is to post him up. He shoots 44% from post-up shots. So he's not a good post-up player. He's more of a face-up player. He's a perimeter-oriented big man. And Steven Silas maximized him, and you saw that stretch in the bubble where he was really good because they ran him in a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of pick and pops. What you see from Christian Wood this year is what Kristaps was doing last year for the Mavericks with Steven Silas. You look at Christian Wood, he goes from a guy who was unknown by a lot of fans that just watched the game casually, but people who really paid attention knew this guy was good. Steven Silas, his pitch to Christian Wood when signing with the Rockets was, I'm going to make you like Kristaps Porzingis. I'm going to make you play like Kristaps Porzingis. And you look at Christian Wood's numbers, it's been huge. Whether it's James Harden, Oladipo, or John Wall running the pick and roll with him, they always find him. They always find him. And that's what I think is lost with the Mavericks offense. There isn't enough pick and roll, especially with Kristaps Porzingis, who I think strives on pick and rolls. And I think that's what's been missing. You know, they had the first offensive rating last year. They're 19th this year. The only players they lost was DeLon Wright and Seth Curry. Everybody else stayed. When you look at 2019, Hardaway shot 40% from three. This year, he's shooting 40% from three. Finney-Smith shot 37% from three. This year, he's shooting 33%. Kleba shot 37% last year. He's shooting 46% this year. Brunson shot 36% last year. Brunson's shooting 39% this year. So it's not a huge drop-off. And even between Porzingis last year and this year, it's not a huge drop-off. It's only a 3% drop-off, and Luka is only a 2% drop-off. The real drop-off is Josh Richardson, where this year he's shooting 27% from three, and Seth is shooting 48% from three this year. So them losing Steph was bigger than they would have imagined. You know, they made those moves because they wanted to better their defense, but their defense has stayed the same, and they did not expect that.
I would say here, their points per game is ranked 23rd. Their point differential is 22nd. Assists per game is 27th. Steals per game is 23rd. Blocks per game is 23rd. Rebounds per game 28th. Like,
they're bottom in almost everything.
Almost everything, they are literally almost bottom. And I think that goes to what you said with the Seth Curry. I think what he did coming off the bench for them was space the floor more, which allowed Luka. If you kind of watch the bubble games, how you were saying how they were running more pick and rolls and pick and pops with Luka and KP, and I think that when you had Seth in the game and that wasn't working, you could find him for those open shots. And I think now that's kind of what they're missing is that one guy to pick up the slack when KP and Luka kind of aren't giving you what you want them to.
Lack of chemistry has been Chemistry is a very key thing in the game. It helps defense. It helps pick and roll. It helps pick and roll defense. It helps you know where your player is going to be in spots. And I think that's what's really been hurting Dallas. I mean, you can look at the numbers, you can say this, that, and the third, but the drop off from last year's offense to this year's offense, I know a lot of Dallas fans want to make it a Josh Richardson thing, but I think it's been a team in total. And like you said, losing Steven Silas, who was known as an offensive guru in this league, Porzingis being hurt, coming back, he still has yet to get his legs up under him. I think that's hurting him too. And Luka, I want to say this team has a weird system. You know, it thrives a lot on what Luka does with the ball. And I think at a young age, that is very hard for a player to do. You know, always have the ball in his hands, always try to make the best decision. I think this team needs guys who can have the ball and make the right decisions, multiple guys for this team to be effective. The lack of chemistry on both ends. Luka has been playing great defensively, but the guys who should be playing great defense, they've had some mislaps, they've had some errors. You know, Josh Richardson not fighting over screens. He's over here letting Porzingis get put in pick and roll situations with players like Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre, and stuff like that. And Porzingis just can't right now guard players on the wing, so they're easy to be beat. So I think the lack of chemistry and the fluidity in this offense isn't there right now. I know they can get it together because when you have a special talent like Luka, you're always going to be able to get it together. But I think this team right now is just not shooting the ball well. They're not being, as you said, being great playmakers as a whole. And they got to figure it out because, like I said, they're literally not making the playoffs and they don't have a pick. So they're literally giving the Knicks everything they want. Because if they don't make the playoffs, what? Then they don't have much cap either. So it's going to be a tough situation that they're in.
Also, too, another thing I think is a big thing is why they're not winning games is effort. I think Luka came on a post-game interview and just said, we're just simply not giving it enough. And I just think that's a big thing, too. Like, behind closed doors, like, and it goes back to what Riv said, chemistry. If y'all are in the locker room and you're not getting along or in practice things aren't working out and stuff, you're not going to want to be hyped to go and play a game if things aren't going right outside of basketball.
And you saying that makes me want to bring up 2 points. I want to talk about that Porzingis thing. Porzingis has not been a good defender this season. He gets hunted down, especially by guards. Chris Paul, the other night against the Suns, was abusing Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis is a defensive liability right now. And what I've noticed is that he doesn't give the effort on defense in terms of protecting the rim. Right now, I think that Dallas's best rim protector in that starting lineup is Maxi Kleber. He gives that effort, and he's a very underrated defender too. I just think Kristaps has not been what they thought he was going to be. And I don't think I think that they thought Luka and KP's game styles were going to mesh perfectly.
That's what I'm saying. They kind of
definitely should.
It seems like,
and they just haven't meshed. And you talked about the chemistry thing. I mean, that was evident. I forgot who it was against. I remember it was a primetime game, but where Luka passes to Trey Burke. Trey Burke misses the shot. Dallas gets the rebound. Passes that out to Kristaps, and Kristaps takes a deep three.
Oh, you talking about in the clutch, right?
Yes.
And Luka just stood there.
And Luka got upset and pissed off because he didn't get that last shot or he didn't get the ball. He was either pissed off that he didn't get the last shot or Rick Carlisle didn't call a timeout. It was one of those things, but that type of leadership style rubs people the wrong way because it makes it seem – because, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis, he's been struggling from three, but the shot that he took – I'm fine with.
Me too.
Because I know that
especially if you make it.
Yes, because I know that he can make that shot. So for him to be slouching and all, you
should be hyping
upset
your teammate
about
up.
it. Really goes to show about the chemistry of the team. And I think that maybe Luka and KP's game styles do mesh together well, but it hasn't looked like it. And maybe it's not looking that way because they don't like each other that much off the court.
Exactly.
That can always be something.
We don't know.
But I'm not sure. I just think that there's a lot of stuff. I talked about the stagnant offense. The defense has not been very good. It's been basically the same that it was last season. Steven Silas going, Seth Curry going. And overall, I just think that this offense is a very one-pass shoot offense. You run a guy off a screen, that first pass he's shooting, or Luka goes into the lane and passes it out. It's a shot. There's not much movement. There's not much ball movement within the offense.
They're getting real predictable.
It's a bunch of just whoever gets the first pass is going to shoot the ball. And you brought in a guy in Josh Richardson who is a very isolated-oriented offensive player. That's where he strives at. He's not a spot-up shooter. So he's an isolation-type player. Tim Hardaway, it seems like every time I'm looking up, he's taking a half-court three.
Always. Literally always.
So he chucks up a lot of shots, and sometimes he's on, sometimes he's off. That's been the story of his career.
Real inconsistent.
So it's been a lot of things, and this offensive system has just looked very different than what it was last year, and they basically have the same team. So the fact that they're struggling this bad is kind of a shocker to everybody.
Last year, per 100 possessions, Kristaps Porzingis' on-court, off-court impact was a plus 6.3 and a plus 3.0. This year, they're both negative. His on-court is negative 8.4. This is per 100 possessions. So he's dropped immensely.
That's a lot.
And I don't want to blame it all on Porzingis. I think the injuries have definitely bugged him the wrong way, and I think not being fully healthy has definitely hurt him.
He just wants to play.
But he's been playing 100% at center this year. Like, that's his position. That's what he's been playing all year. So like you said, they've been hunting him all year. They've just been putting him in pick and rolls. Like I said, Josh Richardson or Dorian Finney-Smith or Tim Hardaway Jr., they're not fighting hard enough to get over a screen, therefore leaving Porzingis in bad matchups. And that's just chemistry. You got to know that your big man can't play defense right now. Or on Rick Carlisle, you got to put Maxi Kleber in the game. You got to put somebody else in the game that can do that. I know Porzingis' offense is he's very talented. I know he can hit that shot, but sometimes you got to sacrifice offense for defense to get wins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't think the answer for the Mavericks is to post up Porzingis as much as everybody is trying to urge it to happen. I just don't think that was never his game in New York, and it's not his game now. It's just a very surface-based analysis looking at a guy that's 7'3" and saying you should shoot more post-up shots. That's really all it is. But the Mavericks have a lot of struggles, and we're going to see if they figure it out this upcoming season.